Bonjour à tous. Today I'm going to share something really personal with you. My exact journey from going to a basic A2 French speaker to passing the TEF exam in under 1 year. Yeah, that's right. I went from this, and if you look at the date, this was about September or October 2018, to this result in July 2019. Yeah. And I'm going to break down exactly how I did it so that if you're in the same shoes, you can get ready for the TEF exam in less than 1 year. C'est parti! Now, before I dive in, if you want a comprehensive French guide that can take you from the A1, that's a complete beginner, to complete fluency, all you need to do is check out the link in the description box below. It's literally titled My Free French Guide. All you just need to do is put in your name, email address, and you get it right away. It actually breaks down the different topics to learn as a beginner, intermediate, and fluent speaker. You can download it and start learning French today. Now, let's get started with my story. Now, my French learning journey wasn't a straight line. I first started learning French way back in, I'll say the very first time I started to take a French class was in 2010. It didn't last long, unfortunately, because why didn't it last long? I can't remember. I just know that I stopped. And then I picked it up again sometime in 2013. I think I did it for about 2 to 3 months, and that was quite good. But once again, I stopped classes because I just stopped. I wasn't committed, I wasn't consistent, and yeah. Fast forward to I think 2014 or 2016, the dates are even getting all mumbled up in my head now. I decided to go to Abuja in Nigeria, and I actually enrolled in a French school again. And I think I started picking up the language then. So a friend of mine took me to Cote d'Ivoire, went to Cote d'Ivoire to celebrate her friend's wedding. And guys, the culture shock was crazy because I don't know why in my head I just assumed people there would speak English, which is dumb, right? I mean, I was in Nigeria, people don't speak French there, so why would I assume people were speaking English in Cote d'Ivoire? But then I get there and it was culture shock. Everybody spoke French and I was like, whoa. And I remember for like the first few days, I just kept to myself. I wasn't talking to anybody because, you know, the French I'm hearing in school is different from the French you're hearing in real life. So I was like, what is going on here? It was honestly overwhelming, but it just taught me a huge lesson that, okay, Sumo, you have to really, really focus on this. But did Sumo focus? No. I went back to Nigeria and I stopped again. But then I was looking for a job, so my mind wasn't really on learning French at that moment. And so the turning point came for me later, I think in 2016. I decided to go back to Cote d'Ivoire and visit some schools and decide to actually start learning French. Fortunately / unfortunately, I got a job in 2016. So it was, do I take the job offer? Or do I stay back in Cote d'Ivoire and learn French? And as a Nigerian girl, I took the job because I was like, okay, you need money. I mean, French is good, but you need money. And so I took the job and I shelved the French idea once again. But fast forward eventually to 2018, I then said, you know what, Sumo, you're just playing games. You're just playing games. You've been going on and on about this thing and you never actually focused. And I think I had decided to learn French that year. Probably I had it on my New Year resolution, I think. So I can't remember now. That was years ago. But then I ran into one of the teachers that had taught me back then. I ran into him at a restaurant and he started speaking to me in complete total French. And I didn't understand jack. I mean, I understood the beginning, like, bonjour, comment ça va bien, merci, vous. Mais après ça, no, I didn't understand anything. And I remember him looking at me like, really? After all these years, you still cannot speak French? Yeah. And so when I got home, something just clicked in me. And it just made me see that, Sumo, what is it costing you not to speak this language, right? I already had a job, so it wasn't a case of, okay, I was looking for a job or anything. I was single, I didn't have any children, so why exactly can't you decide to take up this skill? Why can't you decide to learn the language? What is your why for learning? And I realized I never really had a structure. I never really knew what to do on how to start learning the language. Do you get it? I had played around with some videos online, but they never gave me that structure I needed. And so once I got home and I started thinking about everything, I called my teacher back later that week and I said, you know what, I'm ready to get started with learning French once again. By the way, I'd already taken like the A1 class maybe 3 or 4 times, but anyways. And he told me, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm ready to start. Okay, let's get started. So I remember paying him up front for I think about 3 months just to show how committed I was going to be to learning. And guys, it was crazy. It was so crazy, guys, because I remember I would have classes with him early in the morning, like from 6:30 to 8 a.m. I don't even know how my brain did it then. I'm like, this was years ago. And he really pushed me to get ready for the Delf A2 exam. Okay. And we had classes. I could see myself getting better. And I was just getting happier. And so I think it was sometime around July, or I can't remember what month precisely, but it's like, Sumo, why don't we get ready for the Delf A2 exam? I'm like, no, I'm not sure. I'm shy. It's like, what are you shy about? You can do this exam. Like, I was like, okay, are you sure? Like, yeah, you can definitely do the exam. And so we started preparing. I would go back home. I would go over past questions by myself. I would record myself speaking French, even if I was making mistakes. I would do so many things just to ensure I was ready for this exam. And eventually, I wrote the exam and I did extremely well. You can see this is my result here. And you can also see this short clip of me speaking French back then.
Parfois, excusez-moi, quand je parle, j'oublie les mots et aussi j'étais un peu timide, je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais je parle français, tu vois. Mais donc ça, j'ai dit, ok, aujourd'hui est janvier, ne sais pas, oui, janvier 24 2021. Désolé si je if I spoke de façon que j'ai prononcé la date en français. Mais oui, donc c'est pour 2 semaines maintenant, je parle chaque jour pour 1 heure avec un professeur. Oui, et oui, c'est ça. Donc, je dois faire pour 3 mois. C'est très, très, très important pour moi, spécialement parce que j'ai enseigné beaucoup de personnes et aussi j'ai besoin d'un autre travail. Et aussi, j'aime la langue. La langue française est très bonne, mais par exemple, pour aujourd'hui, non, exact, désolé, par exemple, aujourd'hui, j'ai regardé une vidéo, le nom est Easy French. C'est pas pleurer, it's to cry, mais j'ai souri. Désolé, j'ai oublié le mot, I was smiling, mais c'est parce que je comprends que l'homme a dit, mais c'est très bon. Mais oui, c'est 2 semaines. So pour 3 mois, let's see, peut-être, non, c'est pas peut-être, mais je sais que quand je parle, après 3 mois, c'est très bien, c'est très fluide. C'est oui. Mais je sais que mon problème maintenant, avec la conjugation et aussi le temps, mais c'est parce que, spécialement les verbes irréguliers, c'est pas facile pour moi, mais je comprends imparfait, je comprends passé composé parfois, mais maintenant, le verbe irrégulier, c'est un peu difficile pour moi. Mais oui, mais cette semaine, c'est the second week, la 2e semaine, mais la 3e semaine a commencé lundi.
And it was just truly a transformative moment in my life. After passing the Delf A2 exam, I was motivated to keep going. I decided to set my sights on taking the Delf B2 exam. And I could see that what really made the difference for me was the consistency of having that structure. I knew what to get ready for. I knew what to practice. I wasn't confused. I had a guide on where to focus on and what to do to get to the next stage. And so some people might ask, okay, Sumo, what is the key technique that really helped you? I would say the key technique that helped me is what I call, and it's quite bougie, interconnected practice method. Whenever I was studying, let me say grammar, if I was studying any grammar, or if I was studying vocabulary, instead of studying them as separate skills, like, somebody studies grammar, then you study vocabulary, then you study speaking or something, I just made sure that I integrated them. So for example, if I was learning a new grammar concept, I would immediately create my own examples. So let me explain further. If I learned an apple in pomme, I wouldn't just learn an apple, I would actually learn I ate an apple, j'ai mangé une pomme, or I'm eating an apple, je mange une pomme. Do you get? I would learn it and I would weave it into maybe I am going to the supermarket to buy an apple. Do you get what I mean? I won't just learn them separately. I realized that this technique really helped me assimilate learning faster. And then what I would do then is I'll practice speaking with my teacher. So I could see myself, I could see the vocabulary improving, and I could see that I was pushing myself to use these words in different scenarios. It didn't matter if I had an apple. I could have had a banana the day before, I have strawberry, but the point is I was just trying to mix the vocabulary and mixing the tenses. I don't know, I'm saying mix it because I'm talking about food, but you get what I mean. Mixing the tenses just to ensure that I was actually using them in daily scenarios, real life scenarios, not textbook French. So now we've already gone through how many months? I think like 3, 4, 5 months already passed by where I've already gotten the Delf A2 exam. And then something amazing happened. I heard about the Canada Express entry draw. It really, really lit a fire under me because I kept telling myself, oh my goodness, my French wasn't just a hobby or, a personal goal anymore. It could really be my tickets to new opportunities abroad. I love traveling. I know how many Francophone countries I've visited before this, but then to hear that just by being able to speak the French language, I could relocate to Canada, get a passport and have a better life for myself and my family. Why on earth wouldn't I focus so much more on learning the language? And so, what kept me motivated during this period was having a concrete goal. I really, really had a goal, guys, with real life implications. I created a vision board. I'm so big on vision board and affirmations. I remember creating vision board and I'd put it here and I'd put like pictures of places I wanted to visit in Canada. I'll put pictures of getting COPR. I'll put pictures of the Canadian flag. I'm laughing now. I'm already here, but I'm like, I remember back then so vividly. I'll put pictures of my TEF result of me receiving the results. I'm being like, wow, like, oh my goodness, I passed it. I really, really went all in. Now, during this time, I was also getting ready for my IELTS exam. And guys, I wrote this exam 4 times. I wrote my IELTS 4 times. If I even decide to start searching for my results, I'm not even sure I'll find them. And I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, Sumo, if you've written this exam 4 times and you're not passing and you're a native English speaker, how on earth do you think you're going to pass the TEF exam? And so what did I do? I think even before the TEF, I was like, you know what, Sumolua, you need to get a coach. And so immediately I intensified my practicing for this TEF exam. I got a coach immediately because I knew I could do it by myself, but then I also knew that if I wanted accelerated learning and I wanted to learn from someone who had done this before, why don't I go ahead and follow that person? And so by early 2019, I knew I had to focus specifically on the TEF exam and focus on getting a tutor. Seeing as this exam had its own structure, its own format, its own requirements, I knew I had to adjust my approach of just learning the French language. Like I said, I didn't pass my English exam, and it wasn't because I couldn't speak English. It was because I wasn't understanding the structure of the exam, specifically the writing aspect. And so for the TEF, I was like, you know what, Smolwa, every single time you practice the past questions, look for your weakness. What are you weak in precisely? I personally knew my speaking had always been the best part because I was always talking more than I could write. But then I was like, okay, Sumo, your speaking is good, fine. Don't get all cocky. I mean, you failed the English exam 4 times and you can speak English. So you have to ensure that you have to practice each part. So what did I do? So for the listening section, I developed a technique I call progressive listening. So what happens is first listening for general understanding, then for specific details, and finally for nuances or maybe implied meanings. I will practice the TEF recordings at various speeds, starting slower and then gradually increasing to normal and even faster than normal speeds. So that was what really helped me for the listening aspect because I knew that in order to pass, like I said, the IELTS had already given me trauma. Like, oh my goodness, if I could fail IELTS, then how can I pass TEF? And so I would always listen to different things because you guys know, right? I don't know if you've written the IELTS. You don't just talk about one topic. There are different topics. It could be somebody at a bakery, somebody at the office, somebody at the train station, somebody in a debate, somebody politics, anything. And so that's what I was doing. I was telling myself each week, so we'll try and pick a topic. So maybe week 1, I would focus on beauty. For week 2, probably I'll focus on podcast or audio that had to do with global warming. For week 3, I would focus on something on sports. So that was my goal. I was listening every single week on oh my goodness, I remember it, different topics because I knew I needed to pass this exam in one sitting. This was not an exam I wanted to write 3 or 4 times. No, I just needed to be sure. So that was what I did for the listening, continuously repeating. I won't just listen to it one time and go, no. I would go back. And what I realized is each time I listened to the recording again, I picked up something new. Remember that French is not my first language. So I had to be really, really sure I knew what I was doing. The goal here was to pass the exam. That was just my goal, to pass the exam once, get a fantastic score, and get my PR. Okay, so that's what I did for the listen aspect. Now for the reading. For the reading, I timed myself strictly and I focused on scheming strategies. I learned to identify the key information quickly without getting bogged down in every detail. So what I would do is I will practice identifying the main idea of paragraphs within the first few sentences. So for the TEF exam, so that was 2019, I already knew that, okay, the reading will start in my brain slightly easy. So while practicing, you have like A to D options. Just look for the question. What is there? What is there in the comprehension that matches the question? Pick the answer. That's what I was doing. You don't have to follow my technique, but it helped me, and I got a really good score in the reading as well. So I would skim through, pick one that looked similar to it, and immediately go. And I was timing myself, guys. I was timing myself like I was in the exam. I wasn't spending 2 hours on reading, no, because when the exam time comes, it would affect me. So I was timing myself. And now with the writing, I would say first of all, what helped me with my writing was vocabulary that I picked up from the reading. Because when you read, you pick up vocabulary. Man, it's amazing. The more you read, it helps your brain pick up new words. And so for writing, I built a phrase bank of, different expressions and transitions for different types of written text. I tried to memorize a template of, different letters, maybe formal letter, informal letter, opinion pieces, descriptive text that I could really adopt to any prompt. And so for the task one, then if I remember, I think I was giving something on like an argument or a formal request. And so what I had to do is I was given a situation and then I had to write a letter or a message, and it could probably be a complaint, a request, a response to an ad, or maybe just an explanation to an official body or someone superior. I'm trying to remember now, but yeah, that's what I think it was for me. Or maybe I'm mixing it up with the actual practice questions, but yeah, that's how it was for me. And I think for the task two, it was more about opinion or argumentative essay. So I was asked to express my opinion on a general topic. And I would obviously give clear arguments and examples. So for example, it could have been something like, pensez-vous que les réseaux sociaux rapprochent ou éloignent les gens? Donnez votre avis. You get? And then with that, I would have to give my opinion, give my stance. Do I support? Am I against? So you have to keep practicing different, oh man, you have to keep practicing over and over and over again the structure of the exam. You're not focusing on, you should have learned the language up to at least a Beidou level, but then now you're focused on just the structure and timing yourself on the structure of the exam specifically. And then lastly, for the speaking, like I said, I always enjoyed speaking. I know most people said, oh my goodness, speaking might be so hard because they're afraid to make mistakes. I was like that, so I'm not going to lie and say, oh my goodness, no, I was like that. But having that teacher he really told me, says, Sumo, if you never make mistakes with me, then you're going to make mistakes with everybody else. I'm your tutor. I'm meant to coach you and help you, guide you so that you do not make mistakes and so that your path is faster than others who are trying to do it by themselves. And so that really opened my mind to, okay, so what's the fear of speaking? You're afraid of speaking because you don't want to sound dumb, maybe because you have an accent, or probably you don't want to make a mistake and someone laughs at you. But then I'm doing myself a disservice. If I didn't make that mistake, I would always be stuck in my head thinking that's the right pronunciation, those are the right words, that's how I'm supposed to say it, and I would never correct myself. And so for the speaking, I recorded myself answering sample questions. And what I would do then is I would analyze where I hesitated or made mistakes. I really practiced the pause, think, speak method to organize my thoughts before responding, which made my answers much more coherent. So if this was a telephone I was using to record and they had asked me something on, I'm trying to think of something, if I were asked, why are you writing the exam today? Instead of just diving into giving the answer, I would pause. Even if I already knew the answer, I would pause, and this is to my phone, and say, the reason I'm writing this exam is to provide better opportunities for myself in the future. And then I'll pause again and continue. Instead of just rushing to say, I'm writing the exam because I had seen online that if I write the exam, I'm able to pass. What are you saying? You're not coherent. And so I was practicing this over and over and over again just to ensure that I didn't make the same mistakes that I was making as a native English speaker in the IELTS exam. And so as July 2019 approached, I entered the final phase of preparation for the TEF exam. Like I said, guys, this was what you saw my Delf result. This was like September, October-ish, and now less than 8 months after I'm getting ready for the TEF exam. What I just started doing is I started refining my method. I wasn't looking to learn new things. No, I had tons of past questions that I was just going over and over again. I would time myself in full exam conditions. So probably maybe late at night when everybody's asleep and there's no noise and I'm back home from work. I saw, yes, Sumo, you have how many hours for the exam? Maybe 3 hours or so. Start. So this time I wasn't even just focusing on, okay, today I'll do just listening. Tomorrow I'll do just speaking. No, I would sit and just start timing myself on doing the full exam. Sometimes I'll see that I finished too fast, which I'm like, is that good enough? You have to go over and check to be sure you got the right answers. And sometimes I would see that I took too much time. Like, why are you taking time? Probably because I'm trying to write properly, or I want to listen to everything and get the right answer, or I want to ensure that For the reading aspect, I get it all. And I remember even before the exam, I think the exam was on the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I remember taking some days off work because I was like, let me just sit and be practicing. Let me just go from exam mode, practice exam mode right into the exam and not let anything debunk me. And then the final exam day came. Investing everybody else there, saying hi. I even made some friends. There are two of them that are in Alberta now, and one in Saskatchewan. So that's three actually. And I was like, okay, let's get started. And the exam started. We started with the listening aspect first of all. And I was happy, like, oh my goodness, it's the same thing because then I'm not sure how it's scheduled now in different countries, but then the radio was just in front and you would listen and you have to write. So there's no pausing. You're not pausing. You know, back then, sorry, I forgot a tip I forgot to mention. What I tell my students and what I did that helped me was I would practice without earphones because you're listening to an audio, anything can happen. I don't know how to explain this. It helped me because I had to block out the noise. If you're listening with your AirPods on alone, it's just you and that. But what if you get to an exam center and it's just one radio like it was for me and everybody's listening to it? Somebody could move their chair. Someone could drink water. Something could happen. So just position yourself in a way that you're ready, whether you're using only earphones or you're using just the radio. Because for me, I remember it was just a radio and there was a tape or a cassette, whatever it was then, and they played it and immediately I just started writing all my answers. Then I think it was time for the reading and then the writing. And I remember that the writing prompt was actually on a topic that I had practiced before. I was like, oh my goodness, it literally felt like a huge miracle. Like, thank God. Thank God I had practiced something like this. It was really easy for me. I think the writing was one of the first that I finished because I was like, okay, I've already done something like this before. I already knew what to write. My teacher had marked it before, so he had corrected me. I knew the right vocabulary to use. I knew how to start my position. It was bliss. And by the time I reached my speaking section, I was in a good mood. I could express myself coherently. It was amazing. It was an amazing exam. It was better than my English exam that I had been failing, but yeah, it was an amazing exam. I remember receiving this email and I was so scared to open and see my results. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what did I get? Did I pass? I hope it's not like English. And I was so afraid. And immediately I opened the email and I saw the results. I think I just know that I was like, thank you, God, I passed. When I received my results and saw that I had aced the French TEF exam in one sitting, I felt an incredible sense of accomplishment. I think that's the word. I was like, wow, Sumo, you did this. You actually learned French in Nigeria. You got from the A2 level to TEF in how many months? All those months of consistent hard work had actually paid off. And all the new doors were opening for me. I didn't know COVID was going to happen soon, but we'll get to that part. And it was just amazing. Like, wow. So this is what your life can literally change in 1 year. You know, people say that you're like, okay, inspirational speaker. It's true. Your life can change in 1 year just by focus and consistency. Anyway, this is not a motivational video. So what happened next for me? And I would just say, looking back on this journey, here are some of my most important lessons that I learned that helped me go from A2 basic French speaker to passing the TEF French exam in under 1 year as a non-native speaker. Like, in a country where they don't even speak French. I wasn't immersed in France or Senegal or any francophone country, no. I would say number one is consistency trumps intensity. And I'll take that again. Consistency trumps intensity. My steady progress from like daily practice, daily learning new vocabulary, daily practicing helped better than cramming. Because what I realized is that previously I was trying to cram, and you cannot cram a language. You know how you have an exam in school, if you're probably doing biology, in quotes, you can cram it because you already understand the language and know what you're learning. But when it's French, how do you cram a language? Maybe some people can do it, but I couldn't. So I would say it again, consistency trumps intensity. Number two, having a real world goal like immigration, it provided me the most powerful motivation I could ever need. And there's something I always tell my students, and I was telling myself that at the same time. Discipline is what kicks in when motivation has left. And I'll take that again. Discipline is what kicks in when motivation has left. Were there days where I wasn't motivated? Of course, I'm human. There were days where I was like, I'm not practicing any French today. What is this? Is it not to travel? Why is life this hard? But then I'll go back, I'm like, Sumo, in a year from now, where would you be? That was what I was saying. I was like, in a year from now, where would you be? What would you have done for yourself? So that was one of my strongest motivation. Like, I was looking at my vision board every day. I was like, Sumo, this could be you soon. It was, obviously. This could be you getting your COPR, getting your PR, getting to Canada, getting the passport, being able to travel anywhere, having the freedom to live life on your terms. So that was what pushed me say, girl, get up and practice. Even if it was just for 15 minutes that day, do something, you'll be surprised. Because when I just did 15 minutes, somebody told me, just do small more. And then I'll find myself doing 20 minutes. Just add small more, 25, 30 minutes. And before you know it, I've practiced the whole listening section or read maybe a chapter of a book in French just because I wanted to improve my vocabulary. Another key takeaway is, I would say, exam specific preparation is essential. I mean, generally learning French is good, but if you have an exam, like I had the Delf A2 exam and then I had the TEF, I was practicing under exam conditions. I wasn't just, okay, let me just practice French, let's wake up today and practice French. I was practicing under exam conditions because I didn't want to feel like I had failed my English IELTS. My mom said stop using the word fail. I didn't pass because I can speak English. I was like, how am I failing English? What would happen to French? You get? So I was practicing under exam conditions. That really, really helped. And I would say lastly was recording and analyzing my own speaking. In the beginning, I was ashamed. I was like, why am I sounding like this? Why are my words one by one? But I realized, Sumo, no matter how uncomfortable it is, it's also very effective because you get to hear yourself and you get to hear your mistakes. You know how when you're going out, you look at yourself in the mirror, and probably if you're a female, if you like makeup, whichever one, you see lipstick here. What do? You clean it off. It's the same way. So when you're speaking, if you record yourself and you play it back, and you probably could see that you're using a lot of you were not, the pronunciation wasn't correct, you correct yourself. So if you're not practicing consistently this way, or trying to even pick out your, I don't want to use the word flaws, your mistakes, then how do you get better? You have to correct yourself. So it may be uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's effective because you learn. And so some people always ask me, okay, so Sumo, if you're trying to exam again, what would you do? What would you do first? Because I did get good grades. Like I said, you guys saw my result. I would say if I were starting again, maybe I might focus more on the writing practice, the writing or speaking practice. Because I wouldn't lie, I did my speaking last because I was telling myself, okay, Sumo, you already speak. I'll focus more on the writing and the speaking from the beginning, as I would say that's often the most challenging aspect for many learners. Many learners or many of my students is always the speaking because they're shy, maybe their accent, they don't want to make a mistake. So I would say if you're a learner out there just looking to start from speaking, start speaking day one. Today, just start speaking. Once you've downloaded my free guide, just start speaking. Like, don't wait. We're in the world of technology. You can find, I got a teacher on italki. This video is not sponsored by them, but I got a teacher on italki and I was practicing with him. I found somebody else on Nairaland who wanted to learn English and I would teach them French. We did it for a few weeks. It didn't work out well because my French wasn't that advanced. His English was not that advanced, so we stopped. But I knew my goal, so I paid for a teacher that would help me. And he and I would practice in scenarios, like different scenarios. And that really, really improved my speaking. And what happened after that? So a few months after, like this is not my immigration story, this is just the exam aspect. So a few months after passing my TEF exam, I then applied for permanent residency. I got my ITA, and as I say, the rest is history. So what I would really say, guys, is if your goal is to go from an A2 speaker to someone who passes their TEF or TCF, like I did in one sitting, just go through all the steps I did. Start, if you are probably B1 now, start practicing maybe Delf B1 exams. Start practicing Delf B2 exams so that your mind gets ready. Do you see that I didn't immediately say, okay, I'm an A2 speaker now, I need to do TEF in 1 month. No, I knew that for me personally, 1 month was not enough for me. 2 months was not enough. 3 months, you guys, you could see my results. I'm going to put it up here again, okay? See my results. You can see the dates between the Delf A2 and TEF. I took my time because I wanted to pass well. I didn't just want to just write an exam. No, I wanted to do it once, pass it once, and be over and done with. That was just it. And so, if you're inspired by my journey and you want to create your own success story, whether for work, for immigration, or for personal fulfillment, don't forget to download my free guide in the link in the description box below. It helps you go from complete beginner, as if you're beginner and watching this video, to fluency level, okay? If you know you're getting ready for the Delf exam or you're getting ready for the TEF or TCF exam and you need guidance, you're not sure on what to do, or probably you're just a beginner and you want to get started, you know that this is your year to finally pass both exams, you can send an email to hello@FrenchArena.com if you need guidance. Please only send an email if you know that, okay, Sumo, I appreciate you telling your story. I can see that your approach helped you accelerate your learning faster and pass, and I believe that you're the guide for me. So just send an email to hello@FrenchArena.com. I always respond to all my emails, and yeah, let's get you ready for any of the exams. Please do not forget to like this video. Comment below, what level are you right now in the French language? Are you A1, A2, B1, B2, C1 ou? C'est deux. And please don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. It really, really helps my channel. And please subscribe for more videos on French learning and exam preparation. Until I see you in the next video, bonne journée.